Collett, for whatever his positives were, blatantly misrepresented me to the totality of the PWR audience and everyone beyond that in any way could have the information filtered or trickle to them. He blatantly misrepresented. This is the guy, again, for whatever his positives are, that told me that we had agreed that I was going to take a break from the show and that we would wait until all these serious radical freaks that were pressuring the hell out of Mark would back down and go away. And then once they did, I would come back. I got on the show, ready for the show to get started, and Mark wasn't there. He wasn't on the screen. He popped onto the screen with seconds to go before the show started, the show that we were going to announce this, and told me, nope, we're not doing that. This is our last show ever. And so click the button live. That's what this guy did. After I had saved his show years earlier, when he lost his American contact for being able to stream because he was banned from streaming on YouTube. He lost his contact. He had no one to go to. And I heard about this and I said, I will jump in there. I will stream his show for him. And I'll just be some guy in the background. So I jumped into stream and he thanked me numerous times for doing that, saving the show when it was called This Week on the Alt-Right. And then he decided, after I shared my points on all of the shows of his that we streamed through my channel, he decided, hey, it would be great to have you as a regular panelist. And so I said, I'll stay. You know what else? I did it for no money. In that entire time, showing up on time, being there for every stream, even appearing when I was in the parking lot of the hospital 2 times when my mother was having heart surgery and was present for the show. Never a dime given to me. Not only that, but in short order, realized that the vast majority of the people who are here for what Mark was preaching weren't going to be able to cross over to me and what I was preaching. So it was like 2 guys with 2 different audiences, largely, that were both, he what I would refer to as white sympathetic, me what I would refer to as white positive, just kind of like 2 ships working together and different agenda, different machinery, a different way to get to the destination. I stayed on with no money and no transference of audience. My audience didn't grow at all from doing PWR. There are a few people, but that's it, that came from that audience to become followers of the Go Free practice. And I stayed. Kanye West decided he was going to throw his tantrum exactly as we articulated, step by step it would happen. That's exactly how it happened with Kanye. Then they decided that this was the moment, just like they're saying right now about Shiloh Hendricks. This is the moment we can finally take down the Jews. Everybody, this billionaire, and he's black too, is saying Jew this and Jew that. We all have to get on board because now it's now or never. And I said, bullshit. He's going to be ruined. And anybody who takes up this notion of saying it's the Jew, they're going to be ruined. And in fact, I coined Ye's Law, which meant the consequences of doing what Kanye West was saying to do and was articulating in his criticism of Jews, and those who would imitate it, and the consequences for them. And it worked out the exact same way. This is a mirror. Then it was the Jews. Now it is the blacks. Now is the time, everything. And what's happening, just like back then, when it was the Jews will be taken down. And you have no idea how many times I was told. Maybe you were told 1,000 times too. It's now or never. We've got to pile on. And anyone who thinks it won't work, like that Jason guy, has got to go. Same thing they're saying now. That was years ago, folks. Were the Jews taken down? No, but what happened was that constructive, productive relationship between Mark and I was ruined. That got taken down by the pressure of all of those losers. Tits Minadeo is the lead on it. A guy who actually had to have a mastectomy or had his tits removed because he grew them even though he was a male. Because of him and all of the hangers on like him. And so Mark, right before the show, says, nope, that's it. This is it. So I had to immediately on camera comport myself from a Jason is going to be taking a sabbatical from the show to a final show ever. Not only that, Mark put up a thumbnail to straw man me, the biggest straw man in history. He put up a thumbnail where he had taken me leaning back like this and referencing something off to this side of my office. And over top of, in that area, he put the Israeli flag. And it said along the bottom of it, like a America and Israel forever or something like that. And made it look like that's what I was for. That guy. And again, for whatever his positive points are, which he never apologized for that. He never apologized for changing the plans seconds before the show. That same guy, for whatever his good points are, was caught on a hot mic with David Duke a month or whatever, 2 months later, where he was slandering the ever-living shit out of me to David Duke, saying that I was a supporter of Israel, and never had I ever said anything even remotely close to that. That was just the straw man argument that he propped up in order to knock it down when it came to me. Everybody remembers that. Same guy. Meanwhile, I still have all of the emails. I haven't shared any, but I still have all of the emails of me back and forth with Mark, where I am always talking about him, his wife, and his child, and their income, and that I know they make their income off of this, and that I don't want to get in the way of that income. It was I who said that I would take a break because I knew that there would be a negative consequence economically for me being present for him, his wife, and his child. All of that spelled out clearly in email after email. And him writing back saying, no, mate, we don't got to do that, mate. We'll figure it out. We'll make it work some other way. So this Shiloh Hendricks, it's kind of like Kanye West all over again in that respect. So now let's listen to this exchange between Warren Baylog, who, by the way, when he is, I don't know if he says anything negative about me here or not, but when he's in my presence, he is very polite. But this person, this is No Chance from the show, tagged me here and said that Collett challenges me to a debate on the Shiloh Hendricks controversy. Quote, and I guess this is Collett, not Baylog, this woman is the epitome of no white guilt. The epitome. Jason Did you mean to misspell my name like that? Jason Köhne isn't no white guilt. This woman is no white guilt. I can take you to a pool hall tonight, and I can find a woman with tattoos who will scream "enter" or the S word for the Fuenteses, or will scream at them. I can take you to a pool hall tonight and find a woman like that for you. In fact, probably find a few. They're acting like that behavior is 1 in a million, when that's common. So let's see. Let's blow up the screen here. Let me point out really quickly as we do that. That I gave, let me make them big on the screen for y'all. Like that. I gave like half a dozen reasons that are positive and productive for supporting Shiloh Hendricks, and specifically the episode, but herself as well. We had objecting to her victimization, objecting to our victimization through her, blowback for Carmelo Anthony and the anti-white blacks that were financing and saying how much they hated white people, wanted them dead. The reactive support, when the reactive support was based on our well-being. Reactive support based on being able to say "enter" is not positive. The white solidarity as well, when it is based on our well-being. It's not white solidarity if it's solidarity in being able to say "enter." Supporting this woman so that this white mom with her kids, so that she can get away from this persecution. She can get away from the bad area, and she can get away, and she can have a bit of a war chest to deal with anti-whites coming after her now, which are a consequence of her behavior, to give her a war chest so that she can fight that. And she's going to need a war chest, and I hope that a sizable chunk of it doesn't end up in the hands of the family who will undoubtedly sue her civilly, I imagine. Although they're already looking like they're going to end up with $500,000 or somewhere close to that. Those were all the positive things to support Shiloh Hendricks and they're coming together to support her. The negative thing is supporting her using "enter." That's what I criticize. So I want to see now if Collett or Baylog here is going to actually deal with my argument about celebrating the use of the word "enter." Or are they going to straw man me, one or both, or whatever it ends up being? But the argument, the attendant argument, when it comes to this using the word "enter," we've already addressed it was the end of white guilt, it's the end of anti-whiteism, all perfect nonsense. Absolutely perfect nonsense. The other claim that's being thrown at me is that using the word "enter" has united the white race. It's united the white race. The use of the word "enter." How pathetic of a claim. It absolutely has not united the white race. I don't believe the majority of the people, or a sizable number of the people who have financially gifted Shiloh, I believe, have done so for one of those positive, constructive reasons. That's my belief. I don't get to talk to those people, but that's my belief. Beyond that, this claim that the white race has been united by her saying enter and are united behind her saying enter and our right, I guess, to say enter, that the white race is behind it. I looked at her Give, Send, Go, or GoFundMe, whatever it is. Give, Send, Go. And there have been 27,000 people that have given her money. And I know that of that number, and this is the most popular thing on the internet there is. It's talked about everywhere on the internet. Everywhere I have opened up the internet, there's this conversation about Shiloh Hendricks and what she did and what's happening to her and what shouldn't happen to her or what should happen to her. It's everywhere. So planet Earth, by way of the internet, is aware of Shiloh Hendricks. And some of that number are non-white people. 2 non-white people attacked me, saying that they aren't even white and they are giving money to Shiloh because blacks are bad. So who knows how many of the 27,000 people who have donated to Shiloh showing her support are white. What percentage of it is actually white? And then you have to deal with the actual number. 27,000. You know, when I used to check in on how well Salty Cracker was doing when he was streaming, because I was just amazed that so many people would show up for live streams of that guy. He would have sometimes triple that number of people live in his audience. Often double that number live. So it's a bit of an overstretch to say that the white race has come together because of the number of donations given to Shiloh Hendricks. 27,000. You could do the math. Let's listen to our friends.
This woman is the epitome of no white guilt. Jason Köhne, he's not no white guilt.
She's the epitome. Bro, give it a rest. You know very well you can go down to a pub within 5 minutes of your place, find a white girl with tats that will scream enter. Give me a break.
This woman is no white guilt. And the people who support her are people who have thrown away their white guilt.
They're the people who have thrown away. So white guilt's defeated. Have they thrown away white guilt? Lily Gaddis couldn't even say it. The queen of broke-ass enters couldn't even say it on Piers Morgan. Are these people, their white guilt is so thrown away, are they going to work and saying enter? Are they going to their community center and saying enter as evidence of their white guilt being gone? And again, I will refer you to my comment about, do we not say enter because we feel white guilt? I mean, this is a preposterous position. It is preposterous. But it is self-serving. His audience wants to hear this. Mark now has 2 children. He needs the income. This is what his audience will pay for. This is what his audience will show up for.
I feel that the people who are so desperate to sort of turn their back on this woman, people like Jason.
Okay. At what point did Jason, quote, turn his back on Shiloh Hendricks? 6 positive constructive reasons to support. 1 criticism of the reckless endangerment of her child and herself. And that gets turned into the straw man that Jason has turned his back on Shiloh Hendricks. Why does Mark have to employ a straw man? Because he is wrong. Because I am right. So these are points for me. Address my actual argument or say nothing. I mean, that's despicable. You know, how many times does this guy have to straw man me with really ugly positions? Supporter of Israel and now turning back on Shiloh Hendricks. I mean, if we lived in the same town, I would like a face-to-face visit. I mean, this guy's going out regularly and by the way, how many people in this guy's circle of followers need to go to jail without him ever going to jail? I mean, that's just a question I'll drop there for you to think about on your own. But how many people closely associated with Mark Collett have to go to jail with Mark Collett never going to jail? So this guy's out there slandering me. This is disgusting. To tell his audience, there's no place that I have said anything remotely endorsing a position of turning my back or anybody's backs on Shiloh. At no point. So this is despicable. And as good as I was to this guy, I mean, I'm inclined to share the emails so everybody can see. Disgusting. Absolutely repugnant. And now what's going to happen with all of this guy's followers, I guess the ones that haven't gone to jail, they're all going to go out in the world and say that Jason's turned his back on this white mother and her baby. Fuck you, Collett. Fuck you, you little dick prick. Fuck you. You know you're wrong. And nowhere did I say anything remotely like that. You are such a bad charactered bitch. Unbelievable. Fuck you.
They are trapped, really, in the system's narrative that one word is more powerful and more important than any suffering that white people go through. And if you use the word, or if you defend somebody who uses the word, you're the villain in the story. You're the villain in the narrative. This is complete and utter crap.
Oh, no. Let me prop up this AC unit. Hold on. How could you be this much of a liar about a guy that looked out for your wife and child as much as I did, bro? How could you be this much of a bitch to a man who looked out this much for your wife and child? What a classless motherfucker. He really needs, the next time he streams on Wednesday, to come out to his audience, and the very first thing he does is tell people Jason never said any of that. Jason never turned his back on Shiloh. This is really one of the most classless things. I can't believe that anybody with any class would continue to follow him.
And this is one of the things that the system has seeded in people's minds, that it's better to let your daughter get raped than be accused of being a racist. It's better, or if you defend somebody who uses the word, you're the villain in the story. You're the villain in the narrative. This is complete and utter crap.
No, agreed that it is complete bullshit that we are victimized inside of this anti-white narrative. And I have a prescription that demonstrates success for how to deal with that. Saying enter and encouraging women to say enter by celebrating Shiloh Hendricks using it is not going to end my victimization. It's not going to end Mark's victimization. It's not going to end Warren's victimization. It is going to get a lot of people hurt. That's what it's going to do. You know what I wonder? I wonder if Mark is going to tell Mrs. Mark to go out and call blacks Ners when she encounters them, especially when she has her 2 babies with her. I wonder if he's going to encourage her to do that. That would be a real demonstration that he's a hypocrite, wouldn't it? I mean, if Jason is saying that Shiloh was reckless and that she endangered her baby and herself by doing that, and Mark's saying, no, if you say that it was reckless, that's wrong. We need to be encouraging people to say it. But he doesn't encourage his wife to say it at the park. Then that would be a little hypocritical, wouldn't it? SN says, you must not have been here. He says, you don't have to be rude to Mark. You must not have been here when Mark just told his entire 3,000 person audience that I said to turn your back on Shiloh Hendricks, because that's far worse. That's an attack on my reputation. Me saying fuck you to Mark is not even remotely close to slandering my reputation and engendering an army of vegetables to come after me. Do you understand? SN, do you fucking understand that?
And this is one of the things that the system has seeded in people's minds, that it's better to let your daughter get raped than be accused of being a racist. It's better for a dad to stand with his son's killers than it is for the dad to say, you know what, I never wanted to live around these black people in the first place, and look how it's ended up for my family. It's better for a woman to let her children's toys be stolen from the nappy bag than it is for her to snap and tell the little black thief to get out of the nappy bag. And I'll tell you this.
No. Pretty typical. Gets that wrong. It's not the system that is the concern here. It's not the system and what the system wants that is the concern. It's the safety of Shiloh Hendricks and her baby that is the concern. You don't disregard Shiloh Hendricks and her baby's safety because the system says, and you've got to buck the system. Are you fucking insane? I mean, how is this considered cogent thinking to anyone? What the system thinks is immaterial at that moment with my criticism. The system says that she shouldn't say that word, so therefore she should. Oh, she got killed? Oh, well. You don't got to live with it. SN saying, he spoke with Mark and wouldn't mind having a respectful debate. Does this look like this is somebody who is capable of a respectable conversation? There is no evidence. Nowhere have I said, in none of my tweets, in none of my posts, nothing on Telegram, nowhere have I said what he just claimed I said to engender hostility toward me. I mean, we can go further. The guy, does this look like a guy who would have a respectable debate that was called on a hot mic lying about me and slandering me? Does this look like a guy that's capable of a respectable debate that put up a thumbnail that remains on that video to this day that gave the impression that I was a supporter of Israel? Does that look like the guy that's capable of a respectable debate? Give me a break.
For a guy who calls himself No White Guilt, he sure has a lot of white guilt on his shoulders. And
what is the evidence of that? The system says she shouldn't say enter, so therefore she should say enter and get killed. No wonder, it's no wonder that we are in the state that we are in. With this kind of ill logic, with this kind of pseudo logic that's guiding those of us who care, it's failure guaranteed. What the system thinks and what the system wants in that moment is totally immaterial. Totally immaterial. Address that one, Mark, and address it fairly. Don't go tell your audience. I mean, if I wanted to engender some hostility toward you, we could start making some claims. We could start saying some things. There have been people who have come to me. I have videos. We could start releasing some things. If we wanted to do that, we could. But that's not how I operate. Because my reason for doing this is not to make a living. I don't make a living off of this. Maybe that's why, or that not maybe, but that's definitely why when I see an incident like this, I'm thinking about the white mother and her baby and their safety. And you are thinking about what does your audience want to hear? What argument is going to appeal to them? The system wants you to not say enter, and so therefore you should. Unbelievable.
He's got this completely wrong, and people have been asking me about this all day in my chats and my private messages.
This is just like Kanye West all over again. Kanye West came out cussing the Jews. I said he's throwing a tantrum because his divorce date is coming up and he will lose the divorce. He will lose his kids. And so he's lashing out at the group of people who he has to pay handsomely in order to be a billionaire, in order to sell his music, in order to sell his clothing. And he's lashing out to them for that. And as soon as the divorce is over, it'll go away. What happened? Once the divorce went away, once he lost his kids, it went away for a long time. Then he had to get this other white wife and start throwing a tantrum again because of all the injury that he had. And you know what's really fascinating? Another proof that I'm right. He just released a song. He just released a song where in the beginning of it, he's talking about he doesn't matter that he's famous. Now he can't have his kids. Doesn't matter that he's famous. He can't get to his bank accounts. They were all closed. So I was right there. And this is the exact same thing when Kanye West had his tantrum. Mark had the exact same thing happening. He was inundated by people complaining about me and demanding that he disparage me. The exact same thing. This is just Kanye West 2.0.
Messages, emails. If Jason wants to
Look,
and he's got this completely wrong, and people have been asking me about this all day in my chats and my private messages, emails. If Jason wants to debate me on this issue,
people sitting in private messages and emails, he's being inundated. It's just like Kanye West. Remember, we've talked about how easy it is to control content creators by way of their audience.
I'd be more than happy to debate him on this issue. But I'll tell you this, we do need England.
Yes, he wants me to come in there to have a conversation about how Jason turned his back on Shiloh Hendricks. And he's such a reliable guy. He's such a class act and a reliable guy.
Group preference. We do need white solidarity, and he's right about that. But to claim that the mess white people are in today is all the fault of white people, and that we can't criticize other people for doing terrible.
I never said that it's only the fault of white people. It is all anti-whites of all races.
Things to us is nonsense. And also to deny the role that Jews have played in getting us in this.
Oh my God. Never made any such claim. Never. That was part of the issue during the Kanye West thing, was that I condemned all anti-whites, which meant all anti-white Jews, but that their birth as Jews didn't matter to me. And that was a position that he was fine with all the way up until Kanye West. And all of the emails and private messages that came into him about me. I swear, so much, it'd be so easy to point to the possibility of anti-whites organizing, operating, emailing, direct messaging to keep things focused on other groups of people and therefore nothing productive.
This mess through their control of the media, through their control of Hollywood, through their control of the educational establishment.
So there you have it again. This really trustable, reliable guy just wants to have a little debate with a person that he has already strawmanned the hell out of, to the point of, I mean, what does telling his audience, who are so many of whom are radically anti-Jewish, they're hardcore J-Spurs, what does telling them do to them when you say, oh, this Jason guy, he denies that they have anything to do with it? What does that do to them? What kind of opinion do they form about me that's not based in reality? When you go to all of these white people who ostensibly and on the surface, or to whatever degree they legitimately feel concern for white people, and you go to them and you say that Jason is telling you to turn your back on a white mother and her baby being harassed and thieved by blacks, what do you think that's going to do to that group of people? Their opinion of the no white guilt guy. He knows exactly what that does. This is perfectly irresponsible and malicious on his part. Do you see, am I making up any arguments for Mark? Or am I just taking what he's literally saying here and telling you the consequences? I don't have to make up an argument for him. I don't have to create a straw man for him. Remember years ago when the out of Africa argument really started getting pushed, and is so perfectly a enemy of this community. I just get done pointing out, and SN can see how classless and underhanded Mark is. And SN's like, yeah, but still, have a conversation with him. Sloth says, Mark used the concepts you brought to twist into an anti-J Whitneg equivocation of other focus with white well-being. They keep treating biospirits as similar. Multiracial J hate. Well said, Slots. Well said. As I'm saying, you've always had respectful conversations. Was it respectful when he presented me and my position as a supporter of Israel? Was that respectful? I was respectful to him because of the relationship that we had on that final show. I was well within my rights to tell him on air, fuck you. We had an agreement that we came to because I was looking out for the welfare of your wife and daughter, that I was going to step away. I was well within my right to do that. But instead, out of respect for that relationship and to prevent there from being bigger waves than necessary in the white sympathetic sphere over it, I remained amicable. I should be lauded for that. I could have gone off during that show over that thumbnail. Nasty Butler says, seems like Mark's lies are pretty anti-white. They really are. Western Sunrise says, I learned about Know My Guilt through Mark, and I suspect many others. Aside from his children, this will be the only thing of value that Mark accomplishes in his life. Thank you for saying that, Western Sunrise. Big salute to you. Ivan says, are you unaware that the NFX song... Oh, I was unaware. Yeah, it's not audible to me, but thank you for telling me. I hope it provided a serene backdrop. If you want anything done, let me know, says the great Slots. God bless you, brother. So let's see. I don't know. Maybe Baylog doesn't talk.
Through their control of government funding, through the Israel lobby's control over American politics, is completely delusional.
Okay, so you see, he set up a straw man that Jason denies that Jews have anything to do with anti-whiteism, and then goes on to make an argument about their control of Hollywood, their control of media, their control, and to not believe, to have his position is completely delusional. Of course, that's not my position at all. Absolutely ridiculous. And I absolutely condemn him in the strongest possible way for engendering that hatred of me in his audience. I condemn him in the sternest possible way. And I condemn him for intentionally sullying my reputation and the good work that we do here in service to white well-being. He is a smart enough guy to be able to look at what I've written and what I said and know and comprehend exactly what I'm saying. So either he's taking somebody else's word for it, which is totally irresponsible, instead of looking at it for himself, or it's malicious. And he can go public and fall on his sword and say how wrong he was about my position, take it all back, and then address whether or not it is legitimate to condemn reckless behavior that endangers a white woman and her baby. And if he doesn't want to say that that's a condemnable position, then I wait for him to say that he has encouraged Mrs. Mark to go out in public and find some blacks and call them Enners. We all know that he's not going to do that.
This woman is the epitome of no white guilt. Jason Köhne, he's not no white guilt. This woman is.
That is so. This woman, like I said, he could find a tattooed white woman at the local pub. I could find one at the local pool hall that will shout any racial slur that you can imagine. This woman, she is the epitome of no white guilt, as evidenced by her saying Enner. Would he say that she's the epitome of no white guilt if she had said F you, anti-white? No. Do you know why? Because his position, as clearly stated there, is that if the system doesn't want you to say Enner, then you must say Enner. And if the system hasn't been telling us to not say anti-white, then it's fine. It doesn't matter. You could go ahead and say it. You could say it or not say it. But really, the system doesn't want you to say Enner, so you must say Enner. So if she had said F you, anti-white, Mark would not be calling her the epitome of no white guilt and juxtapositioning her with all of my sacrifices, dealing with shit like this, to say the least, over the course of my life, for the good of our people. Not me, not my work, not the successes that we've had, but a tattooed white woman yelling Enner is the epitome of no white guilt. I hope that she takes the $700,000 or $2 million or the most money that she can get, and that she disappears from all of this, that she goes off and buys a nice little place and changes her identity somehow and rears her children in happiness far away from these people, and that we don't have to revisit this subject when she's charged with some sort of ridiculous charge or when she is sued and loses the civil suit. I hope that none of that happens. I hope that she just disappears and is able to live a Little House on the Prairie life somewhere away from the violence and this kind of supposed support.
No white guilt. And the people who support her are people who have thrown away their white guilt.
All right, that's obviously preposterous. There's been no throwing away. Spartan is here. Dan is here. Mestizo Carf pointing something out very interesting and true. Didn't Mark originally date a tattooed woman? She towered over him. Yes, he did. She had a giant swastika tattoo, and she towered over him. And you know what I bet? I bet that she used the word Enner quite a bit. I bet that she used it quite a bit, and that for some reason, The UK is still in the shape that it's in today. How? Big tattooed white woman yelling "enter." I'm sure she yelled a bunch of different slurs that the regime didn't want her to say. It's madness. The great Brand Danger has joined us, and there's the great Ford Null. Oh, yeah. Mestizo Carf, what was your DM about? Can you tag me? We have Eldritch saying, to be honest, a lot of people in this movement, particularly Civnats and JQ obsessed people, are incapable of following instructions or resisting purity spiraling. Well, there's a lot of truth to that statement. For Noel pointing out that Mark is beholden to a bunch of anti-white donors. There's a lot of truth to that statement. Roxy saying, why is Collett disparaging you? Thank you for the question. The great biospirit of the West is here. Well, he's disparaging me because that's what his audience and donors want to hear. That is his particular grift. They want to hear, just like back with Kanye West, they want to hear a bunch of straw men arguments about me, and they'll pay for that. They'll show up for that. And because he doesn't have a good enough character to not do that to somebody, especially a guy who on so many occasions was looking out for his wife and child. I mean, imagine the kind of person that would do that. Seriously, think about that. Imagine the kind of person who would engender hatred of a man who had never done anything wrong to him, who would ruin a man's reputation, who had never done anything wrong to him, but on the contrary, wrote repeatedly to him, concerned about his income and his ability to house, feed, clothe his wife and child. Think about that. I mean, really, what happened to this race? Why isn't like everybody coming forward and saying like, fuck that, deep condemnation for that kind of behavior? Like, is there no honor left in the white race? Is there no honor? I mean, in the UK alone, we have so many stories of our people exhibiting great feats of honor, even to their own detriment. And then the mouthpiece for the white race today acts like this in the UK, and everybody sticks around. Everybody's like, yeah, that's cool. Yeah. I can play their actual words. I can read their actual sentences and arguments for you. Don't have to make anything up. I don't have to build any straw men for them. This is really the number of times this guy is stabbing me in the back is just unreal. It is absolutely unreal. And the kind of people that could witness that and be good with it, the same type of classless scum. No honor. No honor in the white race anymore. He's also, despite the fact that I've always been a supporter of his activities to bring white people together. So they come together for camp trips. They come together to pick up trash. They come together to give food to homeless white people. That's been, as far as I'm concerned, the most valuable things that Mark has ever done or will ever do. And I've always 100% supported that. Building that white community. We just had Eric on talking about building tangible white communities. And I love that. so that we can work together, we can protect each other. This whole idea of starting a political party, I knew that that was Bravo Sierra from the very beginning. I knew that wasn't going to go anywhere. I knew there wasn't a hope of it. But because I'm a team player, because I didn't want to sully what was really an ambition for him, I didn't come out and say, this is crazy. Patriotic Alternative, it's never going to become a political party. It will never get momentum. There will never be any successes in that. What I knew to be the case. And you all heard me make arguments prior to my association with Mark about political parties and how impossible they are in the West today to address our victimization, to push back on what's happening to us. So I didn't say anything about it. I just said, hope it works. I don't think it, I don't think it will, but I hope it works. More power to you. If it worked, that would be great. But I don't think it will. And I just went along with it. Unbelievable. Unbelievable to be stabbed this hard in the back. How many times? How many times? Would you mind sharing why you decided to not call Mark out on his changing of plans right before the last PWR show? Perhaps you asked that question, Bobby, before I spoke to it briefly, just to say that I wanted to respect our relationship, the time that we had served white sympathy on his part, white positivity on my part together. I also didn't want to create a bunch more problems in the sphere generally by having it conclude with shouting. It was my way of being able to look in the mirror and say, at that moment that I was screwed, I did the right thing. At that moment that I was totally shafted, I did the right thing. Now, let's say I went on a show tomorrow and the guy starts off the show and we're supposed to be talking about X, Y, or Z. And then he starts the show and that was all a lie. It was all a ruse. And he comes after me. I would let him have it. But I wanted to do the right thing for that relationship, for that audience, for that time together, to not cause problems in the greater sphere. And so I comported myself as politely as one could expect a human under those circumstances, a person, to do. So does that answer the question for you? Spike says that he can see where Mark is coming from, taking Shiloh's side. Let me ask you, Spike, at what point did you get the impression that I wasn't on Shiloh's side? Like, what about any of the arguments that I've made indicated that I was not on her side and that Mark is on her side? Because I have not made a single argument aside from saying that it was reckless to endanger herself and the baby. Is that the sides you're talking about? Because that's the only thing that I've criticized. So tag me again. Let me know what side you think I'm taking, and then also make an argument for how it's wrong to condemn irresponsible, reckless endangerment of a white baby.